Today in our PSHCE lesson we're going to be learning all about money. So what is money? Well, money is what we use to buy things. It's what we use if we want to purchase some food or if we want to pay for something to happen, we need to use our money to do that. But where does it come from? You might have heard that phrase that money doesn't grow on trees. You're absolutely right. Money has to be earned. Lots of adults will earn their money by having a job. Sometimes you might earn money by doing different jobs in your home as well. How does money benefit us or help us? Well, if we didn't have money, we'd find it very difficult to buy all the essential things that we need, like a roof over our heads or food each week. What would the world be like if people didn't have money? Well, that's a really difficult question, isn't it? I don't think that's a question I can even answer. I wonder if you could pause the video for a minute and have a think to yourself. What do you think the world would be like if there was no money at all? And finally, what do we mean by the words spending and saving? So spending is when you've got money and you need to buy things. You give over that money and you get the things back. Whereas saving is not spending that money. It's keeping that money. Why might we want to save money? Why might it be very important to save money for a while? I'm going to give you a situation now. I want you to imagine that this £20 note is yours and you're really into building Lego. You have a choice. You can either spend £18 on this one, which will take you around 25 minutes to build, but it won't be very interesting to play with. But look, if you've got £20, you can afford that one already, so you could buy it straight away. Or this one costs £50. You don't have enough money for that yet. It would take you around 2 to 3 hours to build, so it would keep you occupied for a very long time. You wouldn't get bored. And once it's built, you think that that one would be much more interesting and entertaining for you. So what would you do? Would you buy this one straight away because you can afford it now? Or would you save your money so that you might be able to afford this one at a later date? Have a think to yourself. Maybe pause the video. Maybe discuss with somebody who's near you. What do you think you would do in that situation and why? It's a very difficult decision to make because this one you'll be able to have straight away. This one you'll have to wait for. But you also know that this one would be quite fun, but this one would be really fun. So it's a very difficult decision. I'm going to read you a story now. This story is all about Harold, a character we met earlier in the week. And Harold is off to buy a guinea pig. "Harold," said his mum, "it's your birthday coming up next month. Have you thought about what you'd like as a present?" "Oh yes," said Harold. "There's only one thing that I want, and that's a guinea pig." "Oh, Harold, I'm afraid that's going to cost too much," said his mum. "Really?" cried Harold. "They don't cost that much. My friend Derek told me." "Well, no, it doesn't cost much to buy the guinea pig," explained his mum, "but it's everything else you'd need to buy to look after it." So Harold's mum explained to Harold that all the other equipment and things Harold would need to look after his guinea pig. And there are things you need to think about after that, like the vet's fees if the guinea pig is ill. Have you thought about that? Harold hadn't, and he looked very disappointed. "Don't worry," his mum said. "Let's work out how much it would cost." And they sat down and wrote down a list. Mum looked up the prices on the internet, and finally they had a total cost, but it was much more than his mum and dad could afford, even if he added the money that was in his money box. I wonder, what is it exactly that Harold could do, do you think? Pause the video and have a think to yourself. Why don't you wait and see if you can get any more money for your birthday? You usually do. You could save it all up and buy everything that you need, said Harold's mum. So Harold waited for his birthday, and sure enough he did get some money from other people in his family. Even Kiki and Derek gave him some money instead of a present like they usually did. When everyone had gone home from this birthday party, Harold sat down with his mum and dad and they counted all the money that he'd received and added in the money that he'd saved in his money box. He had nearly enough money for all the things that he wanted, but he was still £20 short. What do you think Harold could do in this situation? "I know," said Harold's dad. you could do some jobs around the house, and we could pay you every time you do one. If you work hard, you should be able to afford that extra £20 in no time." Harold loved that idea, and for the next 3 weeks, he did as many extra jobs as he could. He helped to wash and clean the car, did some weeding in the garden, was responsible for emptying the kitchen bins and sorting out the recycling items, and lots of other jobs that he didn't normally do. He didn't get any money for tidying his bedroom, as he was expected to do that anyway. At the end of the 3 weeks, Harold and his mum and his dad counted all the money again, and this time there was just enough to buy his guinea pig and all the extra equipment that was needed to keep it. So that weekend, they went to the pet shop and picked out a lovely baby guinea pig, which Harold decided on the spot was going to be called Piglet. And then Harold's parents surprised him by saying that because he had been so good at saving money and working so hard at all his extra jobs, they were going to buy another guinea pig to keep Piglet company. Harold was overjoyed and saw another brown and white guinea pig in the shop that he knew would be a perfect pair for Piglet. He decided to call her Jigsaw because of the pattern on her fur. "Thank you, Mum and Dad," he said, and as they went out of the shop, Harold had a huge smile on his face. Do you think that Harold would have been as happy if he had just been given the guinea pig? Or do you think the fact that he earned his money that made it extra special for him? I think it did. Have a think about some ideas from the story now. If you need a bit of extra thinking time, you can pause it and have a look at the questions. I'll read them through for you now. Why did Harold decide to save his money to buy the guinea pigs instead of just getting a smaller present for his birthday? Would he have found it easy or hard to save up for weeks? Why? How do you think Harold felt in the weeks that he was saving up? How do you think that Harold felt when he finally had enough money to buy the guinea pig and the equipment? Once you've had a think about those questions, here's your activity for today. I'd like you to click on the link on DB Primary just underneath where this video was. If you can print the sheet, then please do that and write your ideas on the sheet. But if you don't have access to a printer, what you can do is you can write out the sentences and explain what you would do in each situation and why. I'd be really excited to hear about some of your ideas about why it's important to save money.